Imagine waking up one morning, checking your flight status, and discovering that your airline has cancelled almost every route you depend on. Not because of weather, not because of a strike, not even because of an accident, but because the largest airline in India, a company that practically carries the nation on its back, has suddenly hit a wall. A wall built from policy gaps, regulatory miscalculations, and the crushing reality of a hyper-concentrated aviation market. This is the story of the IndiGo crisis, how it started, how it spiraled, and how one private company's failure rattled millions of Indians, disrupted businesses, and exposed deep cracks in India's airline policy landscape. The crisis didn't explode in one day. The fuse was lit months earlier. India's aviation regulators introduced stricter rules on pilot duty hours and fatigue management, a globally recommended change meant to protect safety. Pilots could now fly fewer hours per day, had tighter limits on back-to-back rosters, and had to follow more structured rest periods. Nothing wrong with safety. But here's the catch. IndiGo, the country's most aggressively optimized low-cost carrier, relied on dense schedules and extremely high pilot utilization. Every minute mattered. Every rotation had to be perfect. The new rules required new rosters, more standby pilots, more buffer time, and major scheduling adjustments. IndiGo did not adapt in time. When the enforcement date arrived, their crew schedules simply didn't comply. Pilots timed out, reserve crew ran dry, rosters collapsed, and within days, like dominoes, the cancellations began. First dozens, then hundreds, and soon thousands of flights vanished from the national grid. In most countries, when one airline struggles, others pick up the slack. But not in India. And the reason is simple. IndiGo isn't just another airline. It is the airline. It controls 60% plus of the domestic market, a share so big that it carries more passengers than all other private airlines combined. So when IndiGo stumbled, India stumbled. There weren't enough spare seats in the entire system to absorb the sudden shock. Travelers were stranded. Ticket prices on other airlines exploded. Airports overflowed with confused passengers. It felt like the country's aviation network had been unplugged from the wall. This is where the crisis goes beyond IndiGo, because many analysts argue that this wasn't just a corporate failure, it was a policy failure years in the making. 1. Poor execution of new safety rules. Introducing new fatigue rules was the right move, but the transition was handled poorly. Airlines weren't given enough synchronized preparation time. IndiGo failed to comply, but the regulator also did not enforce a gradual, phased adoption. Result? Chaos. 2. Market concentration ignored. Successive governments promoted growth, connectivity, and low fares, but did nothing to prevent one airline from becoming too powerful. When a single company controls over half the nation's flights, it becomes too big to fail, yet no contingency plan existed. No reserve capacity rules, no backup route system, no coordinated emergency response mechanism. 3. Reactive instead of proactive governance. After the cancellations surged, the government rushed to issue warnings, soften rules, and manage optics. But the damage was already done. This is where the story becomes personal, because the crisis didn't just hurt the airline industry, it hit ordinary people, businesses, and local economies. Ordinary travelers suffered. Family trips were ruined, students missed exams, patients missed hospital appointments, wedding guests missed ceremonies. Imagine paying triple the normal fare, or not getting a seat at all. That's what millions faced. 2. Small businesses lost money. Meetings, shipments, deliveries, all went into chaos. Time-sensitive cargo like pharmaceuticals, flowers, seafood, delayed or spoiled. 3. Tourism took a hit. December holiday season, completely disrupted across many routes. 4. Trains and buses overcrowded. People shifted en masse to rail and road, creating additional stress on already packed systems. 5. Fares exploded. With IndiGo grounded on many routes, remaining airlines hiked their prices. Some routes doubled or tripled overnight. 6. Trust eroded. The crisis shook confidence in India's aviation planning. People realized how fragile the system actually is. This wasn't just a logistics failure, it was an X-ray of the entire Indian aviation ecosystem. And what it showed wasn't pretty. India depends too heavily on one giant airline. Policies focus on growth, not resilience. Safety enforcement lacks synchronized planning. Airlines operate with razor-thin staffing buffers. Crisis communication is slow and confusing. It showed how easily one domino can topple an entire industry. To prevent another IndiGo-scale meltdown, India needs structural changes. 1. More balanced competition. Reduce dependence on any single airline. 2. Mandatory contingency capacity. Spare crews, spare aircraft. 3. Better regulatory sequencing. Safety rules plus transition time must align. 4. Passenger protection laws. Guaranteed rebooking. Compensation clarity. 5. Data-driven oversight. Real-time monitoring of pilot fatigue and rosters. This crisis is not just an event, it is a warning. The IndiGo crisis was more than a corporate miscalculation. It was a national lesson in how tightly India's aviation network is stretched, how dependent the nation is on one airline, and how fragile the infrastructure becomes when safety, scheduling, and policy collide. If India wants to keep flying high, the system must evolve, not just grow. Because in a country of 1.4 billion people, a single airline should never be powerful enough to bring the nation to a standstill. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dive explainers.